So, in cycling, the foundation of cycling is your feet.
Okay.
Everything starts from your foot and works their way up. We call that the kinematic chain. So biologically, when you're moving, because we work within a gravity well of the earth and you're kind of pushing against the ground, if your feet aren't stable, none of the rest of it is. Just like if you have knee issues, like you said, that can lead to lower back and stuff like that, because it just works its way up. And so it's the same thing on a bike. If we start with the feet and get that kind of sorted out, when you're pedaling, your foot is going through its range, and the hip is fixed to the saddle, and the pedal is fixed to the pedal, or so that the foot is fixed to the pedal, but the knee just kind of does whatever those two things tell it to do. Okay. So if the foot isn't stable, or if the hip isn't stable on the saddle, that can cause all kinds of freaky knee stuff. So we need to get you kind of settled properly with the shoes, and with the saddle, and with the shorts, and that will really help your knee, I think, a lot, because I do not want to injure you with that. Because clearly that's an issue, or worse yet, injure the other one. That we'll have to. So let's do some foot stuff.
Okay.
This is fun. So go ahead and just take your flip-flops off. This is the working with the feet part. And this is pretty easy. Okay, so just put your feet on the ground.
Should I stand up?
Cool. I like that color.
Thank you.
Yeah. What's that called? You always have crazy
I
names.
know.
Yeah. You always have crazy names for foot colors. Toe colors. Okay, cool. And have you ever been to a podiatrist or anything like that for anything?
No.
No? Okay. And you said you go to Fleet Feet and they just help you with your shoes and...
Okay.
You
Or
enjoy this
I
exercise?
go to the walk run store at King Village.
Okay.
They measure your feet and
Yeah.
do all that.
Do all that stuff. Okay. So we're going to work on that a little bit today too. Okay. Then go ahead and just stand up for me. Okay. I'm going to have a seat again. Okay, cool. So I'm going to be touching your legs. So just so you know, yeah, just want to let you know ahead of time. And I'm going to be putting them into these branded devices. They're going to be a little cold. Would you like some socks? Would that help?
I have some.
Socks? Okay, yeah. Go ahead and put your socks on. I'll grab them for you. Or if you got it. There you go. And that'll help your feet be a little more comfortable. I'm not seeing anything that requires me to not have socks.
Or it's like moisture-wicking socks for long rides and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just see what we have going on here. So is there anything, do you ever have any issues with your shoes pressing on the side here? Do you ever, has anybody ever told you about wide shoes or anything like that? Is there anything I need to know about shoes in general?
And generally speaking, wide shoes are usually too big.
Okay, okay. And you said you have you mentioned that you have a high arch, and that's something they measured for you. Do you use arch support or anything like that? Or?
My super feet are for high arches.
They're for high arches, okay. And then do you ever use any metatarsal support or anything like that? Do you know what that is?
No, tell me, because
That's
I
okay,
think
no.
I do, but no.
No, that's okay. So we'll talk about that. But you have, on your feet, you have your metatarsal heads, which is where your toe connects to your foot. So that's a metatarsal head right there.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like the knuckles, really, basically,
Okay.
where that meets. And so on your foot, cycling is really different than running.
Okay.
When you're running, you're planting your foot and then rolling your foot and then sprinting off your toes, basically, and kind of bouncing every time you do that. So your foot's really flexing and it's rolling and doing a lot of dynamic things. And cycling is pushing down.
Okay.
That's all you're doing.
Okay.
So your foot interacts inside the shoe different than it does in a running shoe. In a running shoe, it's constantly like moving forward and kind of like spreading out a lot and doing a lot of different things. And also the shoe itself is like actually turning and flexing. A cycling shoe, when we go down and look at it downstairs, you'll see that it's just rigid. It doesn't
Okay.
move. So an issue that cyclists can have sometimes is that the metatarsal heads here can get, because when you push down without rolling your foot, your metatarsal heads spring and kind of spread out quite a bit. So sometimes we have to put what's called a metatarsal button, which is a little pad we stick just behind the metatarsal heads, and that actually pushes them out and
Okay.
keeps them separated, so when you're like pushing down, they don't all mash together.
Okay.
So just so you know,
Yeah,
but
no.
I'm going to be talking about metatarsal heads and stuff, so I just want you to
Okay,
know what
yeah,
I'm talking
thank you.
about. So when we put the shoe on your foot, I'm going to say I'm measuring your met heads. We're going to get your cleat also on the bottom of the shoe needs to be positioned properly underneath there.
Okay.
So some people have really long toes, so the metatarsal heads are further back, so I need to move the cleat further back.
Okay.
You don't want to be pedaling with your toes, you want to be pedaling with the meat of your foot so you can really drive it properly.
Yes.
So that's a big part of it too.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So let me grab your leg here. I'm going to get these sorted out. Okay, just leave it on the ground. If you could just scoot to the edge of the seat a little bit. Perfect, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take your leg, and we'll just totally relax your leg. This is the hardest part. It'll be the same thing when we go to the table and do some of the other stuff. It's hard to just relax. Okay, fantastic. foot there. Feel like your rainbow flips?
I do, but I don't wear them near as much as I used to.
Yeah.
They're better once they're broken in, and those aren't broken in.
I don't do flip-flops.
Well, flip-flops are my favorite.
I can't do it. I don't like my feet. Cool. Okay, so keep your feet in the same position if you can and just stand up. Alright, and then go ahead and wiggle your toes for me. Give me a good wiggle. There we go. Okay, and then keep your feet in the same position, just have a seat again. Okay. Alright, I'll take these from you. Alright. I'll write down some stuff here. Take some secret notes about your feet.
I feel like you're going to know a lot about me when we're done.
I will, but that's okay. A lot of the things that I'm writing down, the interesting thing about how this works is these are not answers. It's not like I write something down and I'm like, oh, okay, because of this I do that. It doesn't work like that. It's really more, this is just giving me some observational stuff, some basic things. It's more like I'm building a case to kind of see where we need to go. So when I see something weird on the bike, if I see something like, oh, that's funny, I can be like, oh, because of her foot, this and that or the other. Because a lot of people think that with bike fitting, it's like you could almost write an algorithm, stick it on the internet. If you plugged in certain things, it would give you an answer. It doesn't work like that. It's a lot more biological than that. It really kind of depends on what you want to do. Because also, like, your goals will change how the bike fits almost more than this does. Okay, so shoes are really the foundation of cycling. If your feet aren't stable, then your knees aren't stable, then your hips aren't stable, and then it doesn't really work from there up. So you really need to have a good pair of shoes to really keep your feet in a good position and work best for you. We already did all your foot measurements and everything upstairs, so I have a really good idea what we want to work with today. And you talked about running and kind of the super feet you use and things like that, so I think we can find something that will work well for you. There are a lot of different styles of shoes out there, and it can get very, very confusing. But really it simply comes down to, once again, what your goals are.
Okay.
So with your goals, you said you want to be fast. You're not going to be mountain biking, you're going to be riding just the road.
Yeah.
And do you see yourself walking around in your shoes a lot, or is it really more just put shoes on, ride your bike, get off your bike, you're done?
Not really. I mean, obviously if I have to hop off and use the restroom or something like that, but like I'm not gonna go to dinner and then by any means.
Okay. Well, the different people ride their bikes differently, so I have several styles of shoes depending on what I'm doing. So if my road shoes are designed just to get on the bike and ride my bike, and when I'm done I get off and I'm finished. I have some commuting shoes that I use for riding to work, so I will stop at the grocery store, get some food or something, load up my bike, and then ride the rest of the way home. I'm walking around in my shoes. So a standard pair of road shoes are not ideal for that because they're very hard to walk on cement with. Now, if I'm at an event like MS 150 or something and I have to walk around to get water, they're fine for that, just for a quick rest stop. But outside of that, they're just ride only. And then also there are things you can get called cleat covers that you can snap over the cleats. So if you do get to a rest stop, you can slap the cleat covers over. It does make it easier to walk. And you can pop those on and off, just keep them in your bag and you're good to go. So from what you said, it really does sound like you specifically want a road shoe. The mountain bike shoes have a lot of knobs and stuff on the bottom, and they take a much smaller cleat, and they are really designed with a smaller cleat in mind, with a much smaller pedal interface. And the reason they do that is so that when you're running around in the mud, when you're mountain biking, all that mud comes off easier when you step into the pedal. You're good to go. They're also good for commuting and stuff like that because they're easier to walk in. The road bike shoes have this more triangular shaped design here with a much larger cleat that fits on the bottom. They're very awkward to walk in, but because it's a much bigger interface between the cleat and the pedal, you get much more power. It's a much more solid connection, and you can really get just basically more power out of your bike, and you're more comfortable. So from what we talked about, your foot seemed very stable. Bit of a high arch, no big deal. And we were measuring like 41-ish, so I'm going to see what I have in a 41-ish shoe, and then we'll go from there. I don't think we need anything wide. I don't think we need anything crazy. So do you see any colors you particularly like?
Well, I have a feeling I'll be wearing a lot of orange, but I like this.
Yeah.
And I like the purple.
Yeah.
I mean, I would prefer not black, but I mean, it would be totally fine.
Okay. So we'll see what we have.
Okay.
Cycling shoes, once again, when we talked about upstairs with fit, I'm going to focus on fit more than fashion right now.
Yeah.
If fashion is a goal for you, I can do that. That's not a problem. And no, seriously, that's okay. We can set aside fit for fashion if you want that. We're making a trade at that point.
I would rather have fit.
Got it. All right. So let me find the right shoe for you. So I'm going to go dive in the cave.
If we choose between two fits when it comes to fashion, but fit first.
Fit first. Okay,
Yes.
good. That's the right answer. Let me get you some shoes.